Shy?
Friends, let's do it again.
I love it.
There you go. Hey, Jessamyn Violet.
Hey,
Welcome
Brett Woods.
It's been years. Let's catch up.
I know.
Um,
So wild.
uh,
Back in the day, I would borrow your husky and go skateboard along the bike path with your beautiful, beautiful creature, Cosmo.
yeah, Cosmo.
What a good dog.
He was the best dog in the world. Oh,
And
man.
so beautiful.
I miss him every day. I mean, I remember those. Those were that's when I probably first got him. That was probably around that time. Like, what was that? What year was that? 1945, 65. I don't know. How
It
how long
certainly
has it
feels
been?
like it. Maybe 2008, I'd say.
That's about right. That's about right. I had that place on Dudley, on Venice.
Dudley,
Way
a
back.
wild Venice street.
I
I
know.
meet some funny cats on Dudley, that's for sure.
Where are you at these days? You're still in Venice, right?
Yes, holding on tight to the rent control apartment that I miraculously fell into back in 2013. So it's almost 10 years here. But
Wow.
when you knew me, it was a different spot that I had. Venice is a magical place. I feel like if you love it enough, it makes some room for you, even if you're kind of not in the exact tax bracket that
Yeah.
most of the people are.
Yeah, I mean, there's always yeah, I mean, I was in Venice for like 25 years. Well, hey,
Wow.
wait, this is the 89th episode of Brett's with Friends with Jessamyn Violet, author, musician, novelist. Is there anything else I'm missing?
That's, the parts we'll concentrate on today anyway.
Well, we would have floated into different topics. We can do that too. Yeah.
Congrats on 89 episodes. I'm honored to be the
And the first episode of 2023.
Wow.
Woo. All right. Yeah, I was in Venice for like 25 years, holding it down. I might be coming back into LA soon, but I'm not sure. I am coming back in, but I think I might be going to the Thousand Oaks to watch my friend's property. But
Nice.
I just got so fucking burnt out, man. I just like I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to take. It's a lot to try to keep up with.
It is. I will say, I will agree with you there. If I didn't have such a uniquely awesome spot, I definitely would have needed another break in the last 10 years. Sometimes you just need to take breaks. After I knew you back in the day, I went up to SF for 3 years, went to grad school, which is where I wrote this book that's coming out in April. And it was a great break from LA. But ultimately, I decided LA, I'm better suited to LA, just weather-wise and vibe-wise. SF was a treat to experience, but my heart was always in Venice. So,
Yeah, San Francisco is really hard. Like
yeah.
people think LA's hard. San Francisco, woo wee. That place chewed me
Yeah.
up and spit me out so fast. I grew up in San Jose, California.
Oh,
and
nice.
my friend's girlfriend let me live with her. We were just platonic, off of Haight and Ashbury, just to give it
Oh.
to give it a try. And I was
Yeah.
like, maybe this is like 1990.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
And that place chewed me up and spit me out so fast. Man, my car got broken into. My
Oh,
script was
God.
stolen within the first day.
Your what was gone in the first day?
My script, I wrote a script for a short film with my friend Marlene and Katai.
Oh, no, it was in your car?
Yeah. So
Well,
that's
that's what I'm telling you. SF is the most window smashy place I've ever experienced. Like, when I had a car there, it was a weekly, like I couldn't stay there. It was, you can't have a car there, basically. Someone broke in just to eat peanuts in my car once. It was like, yeah, they don't give a fuck.
I was in Venice and I had in Dudley I had a parking spot, and behind my garage is on Dudley Court, and I went in there. There's somebody sleeping in the back. I said, "Dude, get out of my car." He's like, "Can you wake me up later?" I was like,
Instead of
I'm not
dude,
gonna come
where's my
back.
car? It's dude, get out of my car.
He was bargaining with me. He's all, "Dude, I just need half an hour more." I was like, "No, come on."
Oh my God, that is something else. I have to say, at one point, SF did have me in such a tight place. Like, speaking of sleeping in cars, I was sleeping in my car with my partner at the time. We were in a band and we were just unable to find a place for a little while that we could afford. And we were just having trouble figuring it out. So, yeah, we ended up sleeping in our car for a few months. I think we used an excuse. We toured, we did a busking tour.
Yeah. You guys are camping. You guys are camping.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot less homeless vibes if you're on the road.
And then you meet the other guys. They're all, we're on a tour too. Where are you guys going to next? We're gonna go to. We'll follow you. We're actually going to be on the next block for another week. But it's a tough. I was homeless in my car for 3 days, and I was like, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and she's basically almost homeless too. And I was like, wait. She's all, I want to spend the night in your car. So why don't you go back to your apartment? And she goes, no, I'll try to be the supporter.
Yeah.
And so, and I had my dogs in the car, and it's all packed. I was all, dude, this is not the way this is gonna go. This is not.
Yeah, it's not a good look on it, but honestly, it's an unfortunate reality for many artists. You have to kind of, being an artist is one of the most continually humiliating professions that you can be in. It's because it's not a profession for a long time. It's a vocation, and you just kind of do what you have to do to make it work. So yeah, I mean, it's really something.
So let's go back to your past, present, and future. We got some, so we have some sort of idea of, so what's your past? Where are you from? Where are you, when did you move to LA? What's your background? And then we'll go to the middle and then to now. Like how'd you find yourself in Venice?
Yeah. So I grew up, I was born and raised in the Boston area. I went to New York for college for freshman year, and it happened to be the same year as 9/11. So I ran screaming back to Boston pretty quickly, and went to Emerson, graduated. And then a bunch of my Emerson friends were like moving to LA, because it's a big entertainment school. And I just had been conditioned to think I hated LA. I was like, oh, it's fucking full of flakes, this and that, like. True. I had a boyfriend at the time, and I was like, we're never gonna last because you want to move to LA. So we broke up. And anyway, after I graduated, I came out to visit because I was working for magazines and doing a lot of artist interviews, and writing about them, and they were all in the LA area. And I just started getting like, I was like, I kind of want to move out there just to like be where I can go to these people's shows and like meet them in person and stuff.
How old were you at the time?
I was just out of college, so 22. And I came out here, and a bunch of my Emerson friends were living near Venice, and they took me to Venice, and I just fell in love with Venice. Like, it was a person, and I was like, I have to live here. Like, I'll do anything it takes to live here. So I just moved out here. At first got my spot in North Hollywood, which I thought was in Hollywood. Of course, it's far from Hollywood, which was a really funny area. But I would come to Venice all the time and just like hang out with the locals and talk to them. And eventually that scored me my first rent controlled spot that I could afford. I was working for a magazine here in LA as a managing editor. I was making enough to move into my own spot in Venice. And yeah, I just kept trying to ride it out. And it was unfortunately the last of the magazine days, kind of the good ones.
Yeah, I used to go to that newsstand on Main Street all the time.
Nice.
You're at the newsstand on there on Main Street?
I don't know if
Santa Monica. It was the only newsstand there. It was like near Ashland and Maine.
Well, this was around 2008. Was when I was like, 2009 I applied to grad school and up in SF, and then I just said I need a break. I need to write something substantial. I was kind of just like too deep in the LA scene. In your mid-20s, it's just hard to focus. So I was like, no, I need to go and focus and do what I always loved, which was fiction. That was my first love in the writing world. So I moved up there and went to grad school at California College of the Arts, which is in Potrero Hill. in San Francisco. And while I was writing this book about musicians, because I'm a piano player from childhood, and I actually just picked up drumming because I wanted to be in the music conversation again, but piano was not really my like main squeeze. Like I wanted to be a drummer. I had this energy and anxiety that I didn't know what to do with. So it was a great outlet for me.
So are you?
And then I moved back here.
So you're mostly a musician. Do you do any vocal?
I have done vocals, yeah, and I've written like I put out a whole album of my own sort of like lo-fi songs that I recorded when I broke my leg skateboarding, actually, and I haven't skateboarded since, but I had a lot of time, and I was doing I was in a project at the time with 2 other women, and I was writing the lyrics to that project that was called Little Sandwich, and so I just was feeling in a vocal mood because it makes sense. I mean, I write poetry and lyrics are poetry and stuff, but the irony is now I'm in instrumental bands because I don't know, it just felt like an instrumental project. We really love just like challenging ourselves to speak with our instruments and find like this root core to a song that doesn't rely on.
How can people find that? Because I was looking on YouTube to find some music from you, and I found somebody named Justin who had a video, or is a gentleman that was doing some sound mixing.
Oh, Justice Joslin, yeah.
Okay.
So, okay.
Is that maybe it's a different jazz? Maybe, but
yeah, that was me.
Okay, that was you. Because I
heard that was
instrumental, and so that's why I thought, oh, okay, you're more instrumental, and he was like producing or do something on a keyboard.
Yeah, no, Justice and I, we did a couple songs together. He had a lot of vintage gear. It was cool. He was a great friend. He moved away, unfortunately, but my main project is Movie Club. We're called Movie Club, and we're everywhere.
What is that exactly? What can you tell us about more about that?
It's a psych rock instrumental duo. So we basically operate as a duo, but we always have special guests playing bass or horns, or we've had keys, we had violin.
And what's the platform that you put this on?
Everything. So that's why it's like you just need to know the name, which is Movie Club. But yeah, I thought it was linked to my Facebook page, but I'll check that. But we have a ton of music videos out on YouTube.
Is there a video that
Spotify?
Is there a video that I can play right now that you can introduce, and I'll grab it and play it, and I'll insert it right here, and then we'll come back. What would you like me to what would you like to play right now?
It's called Trapdoor, 2 words, by Movie Club. It's our last music video that we put out, and was shot in the Salton Sea, which is kind of this really crazy place where people that go to Burning Man, go and live for the rest of the year. That's the kind of vibe. Everyone kind of has their own camp, all sorts of different types of housing,
art installations,
art installations everywhere. It's an amazing place. And I mean, we shot right in the front of our Airbnb for one of the parts of this video. It's unbelievable place to shoot. I couldn't believe that more bands hadn't done it before.
Okay, so let's watch that video right now. 1, 2, 3, yay, and we're back. And we're back. It's that easy.
Awesome.
Well, okay. So that's the most recent thing you've done. And you have a new novel as well.
Yes.
And it's called
Secret
I had it pulled. What's it called again? I'm sorry.
Secret Rules to Being a Rock Star.
Boom. And here's a cover of that right now. We'll put that on right now. Can you So this is a big project. How long did you work on it for? And if I ask you questions, because I know you've been sort of doing podcasts and stuff like that, if I'm asking you questions that you've already been asked before, you can barrel in. Actually, this would be a better question. This is what I haven't talked about yet.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't expect people to listen to the other one as well. So it's kind of like, I'm happy to answer whatever, but I don't want to, shut you down if you're curious about something. And I've said it before.
How long did because my buddy Steve Oakes has a novel, and I know my friend Cindy Campion. Are you self-published? Can you give us there's a couple of different questions. What you wish you had known before you started doing it to the things that you've known now? Is there that you tell your younger self or anything like that?
Oh God, yes. Okay, so I started writing this book in 2009, the start of grad school, and I just signed the book contract for it 2020, the top of 2022, and it's coming out April 2023 with a small press called 3 Rooms Press, and they're kind of a punk rock indie press out of New York City, and they've been around since the 90s. And I really lucked out finding them because, it was an incredibly challenging process selling the book, and I've written several others since then. I've also shopped them around, but this one was the one where I had put in so much time and effort that I basically was like, I can't not follow through with this. And I guess if someone had told me at the top, it's going to be 12 to 13 years till you see this through, I don't know what it would have changed, because I grew up around a bunch of women writers, and in the 90s, like, fiction was very successful. A lot of people were still reading, and it was just popping off, like, before streaming happened, before all the technology exploded. So I just thought it was going to be something that I would definitely have to work very hard for, but I didn't realize that it was going to be quite as bleak as it had turned in the last 10 years. So anyway, it's just a labor of love, like so many other things. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't expect anything. I mean, there's so many writers that didn't even experience the fame, until after they died. And they would be shocked to find out that they're greats, like considered greats, and people are still reading them because of the life that they led. It was a life of poverty. It's a very humbling life where, you have to still tell people, everyone asks, like, are you published? And there is a lot of self-publishing happening. And I did, experiment with another book in it. It's really hard. Like, unless you already have a name, or you're doing like a full press run behind it, and it's actually really clean and ready to go. It's just hard to support yourself and your own releases like that. So I don't know. It's just the world is so oversaturated these days, so you really have to fight that much harder. And I think that, writing is so important because, reading is so important because it's like you find out all these secret codes to life, is the way I used to like to say it, because writers have to put so much time and wisdom and thought into every line of their books just to get them exposed to like anyone, that you don't have that kind of parallel with any other form of media. music, you could be listening to something someone put together just months before, you know, that they wrote it on a whim and self-recorded and released it. Anything on streaming on demand, that maybe took some years, you know, but not 10 plus years, you know. Some shows and movies take 10 plus years. But I think that the level of rejection that you have to get used to as a writer is something that is unparalleled in any other form. Maybe it's arguable.
It's yeah, it's yeah, it's a trip because like it's like once you spend that much time doing something and then you put it out there, you know, you got this pushing, and then it's like almost anticlimactic once it's out there. It's like, oh, because you're kind of exhausted and you break through it 1,000 times. You're like, you know, now it's up to like people, you know, it's sort of just out there. And there's so many people doing that exact same thing. It's like, I spent like 15 years or so trying to get a final cut for my short film. This is a 10-minute little film that I already had cuts for it. But as the evolution of the technology changed and I got it retransferred, and then I did the sound mix over better, it's all digitized, you know, but and that was like, and then you put it out there and you're like, oh, okay. And now it's just, it exists on its own and it is what it is, I guess. And you try to promote it and you just hopefully people like it and you can continue to do more stuff, I guess, right? I mean,
yeah,
because
no, it's almost like the postpartum, you know, psychologically.
basically,
Like you give birth to your art baby and then you're like, now what? Because it's not a kid who's going to remind you every day of its existence. You have to remind the world of its existence if, you know, you're going to see any sort of ripple effect realistically big enough to have an offer for to keep going.
to do
So
bigger stuff.
yeah, that's why book promotion's like 6 months out, you know, or like 6 months of promotion behind this book. You have to do as much as you can before it even comes out so that when it actually comes out, maybe something tiny happens, like a tiny ripple, you know, especially with books. Like with films, it's, I don't know how it is because I haven't tried to put one out, but I'm sure it's very
I recently had a really interesting conversation with somebody who's a working director. I won't use his name, and I've known him for like a long time, and I haven't never asked for anything. But it sort of reminded me of I'll try to make it short, but he basically wrote me back because I said, hey, do you know anybody that I could maybe show my script to? And it's or somebody that maybe you'd like to read it or anything like that, let me know, just putting it out there. And he wrote back to me, writing a really concise thing saying that basically it was, I mean, I could quote it, but I don't want to do that. But basically saying that he would never basically ask one of his contacts to read anything from an acquaintance or a friend that didn't have basically trophies or awards or a background of those things winning things and with budgets behind them. And he would never do that, and he doesn't have time to read that. And it's sort of like it was kind of like Kurt, but like and then I was like, cool, thanks. If you ever want to come on the podcast, that'd be awesome. I think it'd be a fun chit chat. And it basically, because like I've showed that script to a few different, it's 3 different, it's basically saying we're in a club and you're not in it. Yeah. It's basically the George Carlin thing. And but I've also shown that script to 3 different filmmakers who've used parts of the script or dialogue out of it and made it into their movies or ideas that were features that were released in public and stuff like that. But it's sort of, so that's almost the other side of the coin, is the once you, because you're putting in all these ideas and then some people come and take them and then they have the means to actually make things get done.
Well, that sounds a little questionable, to be honest. Like, did you approve your friends using these ideas in dialogue?
No, no. I told this story to Paul Provenza. on the podcast, and he's all, I said, what do you think about that? He's all, welcome to Hollywood. But you know,
Yeah.
I only say
Yeah.
that this is an interesting dichotomy of like the things that get done, the things that get seen, and the people, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's like that's a classic case. In every single arts arena, there's the cool kids club, and you have to have a certain guard once you get past a certain point because it is a touchy thing. Like no one is really going to make someone else's career for them. They all probably did so many things that were humiliating on the way up, and they probably reached out to so many people that didn't help them. And there's a certain vibe at the end when you do finally get in where you're like, no, everyone else has to go through the same misery that I went through, and they're not, or they just have to, yeah, it's a test, and I don't know what, there is no real, it's like if someone's related to someone, or there's some connection that there's something owed, like maybe those are the bypasses for the clause of the catch-22 of like, you need to have shit going on. And I mean, if I were you, I would, it's everyone has to just try every means possible to get their piece of art in the door. And that's what this book was. Like, I know a lot of like huge writers, and one or two of them did actually try to help me because I grew up like knowing them, and even like a multi best-selling author was not able to do much for me. I had to do this myself in the end. And in the end, I think it does feel better when you do it yourself, because you can't think to yourself, oh, I'm just a piece of shit that got in through the door through my connection. You have to, you can, that's because I have moments where I'm like, wow, I'm so glad I did this myself and I saw myself through, because it's really hard to believe in yourself, that to the point where you're like, this needs to be a thing, you know what I mean? Like, but then you think about all these other things that are things, and maybe they're not even saying half of what you're trying to say in your thing. So it's like, you just have to be like, no, this needs to be a thing. I'm going to try every avenue possible, and something's going to give at some point, and it might take years, but it's going to be worth it. And because I know if I had had my friend and mentor get me in somehow, I would probably think to myself, oh, I don't deserve to be here, because we all have that self-deprecating struggling artist quality that comes from the years of humiliation, that makes us think that we don't really deserve something, or that it's we're imposters if we get it. It sucks. So I would try every avenue.
Yeah, and I will always make, I mean, this is, growing up as a kid and having the romanticized visuals of like Ray Harryhausen and Jason the Argonauts, and in Stanley Kubrick, and these Steven's Jaws, all these things, the way the way things make you feel and that actually propel you and inspire you to do and go, oh, I could do that, or I want to do this in that, or I can make that, makes me, fires up the synapses as a creativity and kind of pulls you through this thing. And I think I've come out the other side of it at this point, because I'm like, because with the way movies are made on the levels, I would never have been good in a Hollywood system anyways, obviously. Just because
I don't think
because
you can
I don't, well, I mean, like
you don't know.
I
you
met
never
like,
got the chance yet.
oh, true. But like independent films is where it's at, right? Like Jim Jarmusch, or like all this stuff, like David
Jim
Lynch, of
Jarmusch.
course. But like because the way some stuff happens, the way movies are made today, like with the Olivia Wilde stuff that happened, and just the climate of a set is like, I would never want to, almost, I've been on like T3D, like on Digital Domain back in the day, that set, those big sets where it's multi-million-dollar things, I don't know if I could do well in that atmosphere anyways. So
I just think you build up to that. It's not like someone says, oh, I'm going to give you millions and millions of dollars to make this idea. So by the time you get there, you'll be able to handle it, but you can't just write it off, because I've worked on a lot of movie sets. I've worked in production ever since I moved back to LA, and each one is so different. And anyone who generalizes is doing it to justify their own bad behavior is what I say.
Mhm.
Because generalizations just, they don't exist anymore. There's too many different things in life. So
Yeah.
I mean, you could create your own movie set with a certain vibe and a certain low budget situation. Like you could
No,
enable yourself. So
yeah,
it's like,
I'm not giving up on the project. It's
good,
just
good.
it's just kind of dialed into like the actual actuality of it. Like, oh, okay, that's the way that looks. How things get done over there. And anyways, it's enough about that. But like yeah, I'm not giving up on it. But I'm okay with making my little movies and having a silly little podcast and painting. And I'm an artist, I paint. So I'm okay with just doing those for the rest of my life. That's fine. At
Well,
that,
we all have to be, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, because it's our vocation. So that's why it's such a mind fuck, because you're supposed to be, also you're living in America, and in America you're supposed to make money. And that's the thing that turns the normal, like, artists all over the world enjoying their life and just thankful for the fact that they're able to make their art, into the Americanized version of being an artist, where it's like you can be making your life work so you're able to make great art, and that's not enough in this culture. And that's what I hate, is like, no one should feel that way. Like the fact that you're able to sustain 3 different types of artistic pursuit is a success in itself. Like it should be seen as that. And just because you're not pulling in tons of money, it shouldn't make us feel bad. Like that's how I feel. Every day I struggle with that, and I'm like, should I leave the country? Who knows? Because I've been to
I feel
other
like that all the
countries.
time.
Yeah, exactly.
At the beginning of COVID, or in the middle of it, I went out and got my passport right away. I was like, man, I just want to fucking leave, and just in
Yeah.
case you have to or want to. I don't know.
Yeah. But in other countries, that's seen as a success if you're even just able to live a life that you can make your art, and you have enough people that are supporting and supportive of your art. That's enough. But I don't know, it's just this human and excessively American thing where it's like we have to call everything silly unless it's making money. And that's what bothers me, because I know a ton of art, and I can already tell that your podcast is fun because you have a great energy for it and a great vibe for it. So I know I wouldn't call it silly, like that
You're
right
right.
there.
You're right.
You're just, yeah.
It's a little deprecation, maybe.
Hey, I know it when I see it, because I live it every day. I'm just trying to inspire, because I do think it's sad. My book is about the 90s music scene in LA. And in the 90s, when I was coming up as a very impressionable, middle schooler, high schooler, beginning of high school, I graduated 2001. I was definitely like, the art scene had a lot more money behind it, and it was just a lot more, you could have a hit, even a band that had one hit was set for life, the amount of money that was coming in. But these days you could have like millions of streams on Spotify and still have to figure out something else going on. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting time, and they've already taken so many different things. They found out so many ways to take the money from artists since the 90s. The artists were making too much money in the 90s. So they had to put a stop to that. And I just want to try to, inspire people to keep on fighting in this country, because I do see it becoming a situation where only independently wealthy people can afford to make art that is like even seeing the light of a wider audience, because you pay to get on playlists, you pay for press, you pay for this and that. There's so many ways you can pay to be popular in America, but to have actual popularity, it requires like a lot of years of just sticking to it, I think. And
yeah, the acting scenario is kind of interesting though too. Be like the as an example, like people work their whole lives, go either become child actors or don't, and are still working towards that, and they're they have this moment where they get famous for about 1, 2, 3, 4 years maybe, and then it's like wrong. It's not sustainable. The whole idea of fame is not sustainable, to work your whole life for like this one. Very rare that you get like a flow in those progressive commercials, or like a career like Tom Hanks or Meryl Streep, or
right.
you are continually a working actor for like over. That's just it's just like a. I don't even know why anybody would actually ever want to be famous.
No, being famous is like a type of trauma. It's a byproduct of having visibility with your art, right? I mean, it's especially bad for actors because it's their faces, you know. But like famous directors can still go out and eat, and not everyone's going to know who they are. But or writers for that matter. I just think that fame is mostly not sustainable because it's trauma, and it would be so interesting to hear from. I've never like heard an in-depth interview with a person who's been sustainably famous over like decades, like you said, like Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. How do they process? How do they process the constant psychological funhouse that is being famous? It would be very interesting to know, because I don't know. I was just watching a documentary about the Viper Room in the 90s.
Yeah.
What a crazy time that was, and how social media hadn't taken off yet. So all these famous people would go to the Viper Room and just have this little clubhouse where they could be free and do whatever they wanted and feel normal for a night because they were all around other famous people. And that sort of environment just like hardly exists anymore. So it seems like fame is less sustainable than ever. And it shouldn't be the goal. I mean, if you're a real artist, the goal should be to be able to produce art that you think is the top of your ability for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter how many views you get on it. If you can keep making great art, then you've won, right? Like
Yeah,
actors have it rough though. Yeah, actors have it rough because they have to beg to get on the thing. You know what I mean? They can't just sit down and write a book or paint a painting. They have to like
I've seen that a lot
cast.
with my actor friends. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that, like, it's because, I'm 53 now, and I see them, they've been working at it for like a long time, as we
Mm-hmm.
are with all our crafts and stuff like that. Um, but Hollywood's not kind to the actor.
No, it's talk about humiliation. Yeah, I mean, whew.
Oh, it's rough out there. I can only like I mean I'll act and stuff like that if it's cool and it's casual and it's fun. But man, I just the auditions, the Zoom auditions and stuff like that, it's just very cold. And yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip the way movies get, or actors. Anyways, so I digress. So can we talk a little bit more about your book?
Sure.
Okay, so the title of it is, again, because I'm gonna put a graphic up.
Secret rules to being a rock star.
And so, in the process of this long journey into its conclusion, how do you feel?
I feel like I am still dreaming. It definitely does not feel real. But as I said, because I figured it, I cracked the system myself, without, the connections, it feels also more enjoyable, I think. Um, because I can say I did it myself. But again, I had to go in, and I mean, years and years of writing agents, and I had two different agents for this book, and various heartbreaking things happened. I mean, it's really been a journey. So, but this, press, I applied to without an agent. So small presses are a great place to try to get in the door if you're a writer. And because agents, the whole agent model is kind of, talk about unsustainable. Like they make 10 to 15% of what the writer makes, like the deals they strike for the writer, but only 8% of writers in the world can actually live off their own income through writing. So it's like, what are agents doing? They're hedging their bets. They're juggling like 30 different clients, trying to make, you make $1,000 here, $100 there. It's really
It's like sports betting.
I think less profitable, to be honest. Because
I
in sports, someone always wins, but in writing, you could have 30 clients and all of them their books could not sell that well. I mean, there's some disgustingly depressing fact out there that like 95% of all books published sell less than 200 copies, which is truly disheartening. And I'm not sure if that statistic includes like nonfiction, academic books. It's a questionable statistic, but at the end of the day, readership is at an all-time low. So,
do you think
writing this book,
people are spending more time online, obviously, and that's taking away from the reading time? I mean, are people just
yeah,
not reading? Because I mean, I haven't been reading that much lately. I read something really quick the other day. I was like, oh, I kind of liked it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna start reading more. But like, are people aren't reading?
no, I think that specifically people have been targeting people's attention spans over the last few decades, and maybe earlier, but with the amount of distractions that we have in today's society, I mean, people have their phones going off all the time. Some people have in-house robots like Alexa and Siri who are just barking things and doing things, and there's just a million and one distractions. So I mean, reading a book requires a focus and concentration. You have to set the scene in your own imagination, which is something that people aren't used to doing in these days. And that's the thing that makes me sad, especially with kids.
Real quick. What's the perfect situation to prepare yourself to read a book? Like environment. What do you like? If you're going on a date with yourself with a book, what would be the best scenario for yourself to do?
That's a cool question. Yeah, I mean, first of all, leave your phone in the other room. Make sure that you have enough light, or if you have a Kindle, you don't need light. But I like some instrumental music playing in the background. Some people need quiet. I like a low level, like classical radio station playing. There's a great one in LA. Tea is great. A cat lying on your lap is even better. That
sitting up straight, or leaning back.
Sitting up straight keeps you awake, and yeah, because books can be like, people always say, oh yeah, I read them to fall asleep or whatever, so there's that element. They're a wind down, and it's like, maybe, with how much overwhelm there is in the world today, maybe people should incorporate a wind down reading routine where they leave the book. I mean, they leave the phone in the other room. They just sit and read for half an hour at the end of the day. For me, it clears everything away, all the anxiety and stuff, because I can just immerse myself. But you're building this world in your head, and it's a hard thing to do for a lot of people today, and that is for a reason. It's with so much competing, I think having an imagination is the biggest weapon you can have today, because it allows you to envision ways through the bullshit, and they don't want people to have imaginations anymore. They want people to be sheep, and they want people to respond to robots and all sorts of crazy things that are the future, I guess. But
AI.
I say fight back.
You seen all those AI stuff lately? What?
No, AI is a very hard subject for me, because it's directly taking work from artists right now. With the whole AI art movement, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing the job that many people worked many years to specialize in, and at the same time, there's a really gross feeling to it. Every time I see it, I can recognize it. So it's not doing the same level job, because art, the basis of all art is soul. Like art is a translation of soul, you know, and AI does not have soul. So looking at AI art is wrong. It feels wrong to me. And what scares me is that kids aren't going to feel that. Like they're not going to feel that it feels wrong, and they're going to think regular art feels weird, you know, like that's the part that fucks me up, you know, like I hate that. Like so
it's like acid and one's acid and one's mushrooms. You know, it's like one's organic and one's synthetic.
Yep.
And you can feel it. I mean, the AI stuff is like I do a face swap for the intro of these things that I just get from Reface, and I just put a blast one there. But even that is getting old, like that, because it just seems like there's it was a novelty, and now it's kind of growing up, and it's synthetic, just even the art itself, but people are it's gonna change everything. I mean, it's already within the little quick blip that we just had like a month or two ago with all that, and it's still kind of trickling off a little bit. It seems like you know, with people being able to be in their own favorite movie, you know what I mean, like putting their friends and themselves into Star Wars, you know, and with their own voices, and it's gonna get to what's and somebody said, would somebody buy that? I said, yeah, if it doesn't cost that much, then sure, why not? I'll watch with me and my friends, and I'll be Luke Skywalker, and you know, that's it's mutating into these.
But again, there's no creativity in that.
No,
it's only feeding narcissism. Like
exactly.
They've already primed everyone.
And they know that. They know that.
Exactly.
People love to look at themselves.
Exactly. They've primed the market for narcissism, and now they're gonna clean up on it. And in the process, it's like, what? Yeah. So then, why write a movie when you can just I can
just put my script into an AI machine and have my favorite actors acting in it without a budget. How that?
And that's a dead end. Think about everyone that works on that movie, that if it happened in real life, and now they're out of a fucking job and they have to go work for a tech company, and this is all just happening too fast, you know. It's like, and they want us to just get like feeling
it's a little traumatizing when it blips out like that. It's like whoa.
I know. So the overwhelm is real. They're taking over. They have all the money. We've already given all the money to the tech people, and yeah, I mean, it has to be fought against. It has to be, people have to rage against the machine. This is not this is not a question anymore. Like, people have to read books, and they have to do analog things and feel good about it, and hire artists and not feed input into a machine and come up with some weird oh gosh.
It's such a it's like okay, wait, back when, like, before this was all happening, like before, like when I remember filming things in the street, this is like pre-internet, just film, every time you film something in the street, people would be like, I went over to Colombia and Brazil and stuff like that and filmed some stuff over there. But like the way, when you had a camera flashing around, everybody took notice, and you had to be really careful where you pointed that thing, because people would get like, they think they didn't want to be filmed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, so you have to hide it if you want to film somebody, like sort of like indiscreetly, like a scene of people walking by.
Yeah.
And but clip to, like, now, it's like when you look at the street and people walking around, it's like everybody's filming everything. It's amazing. Like, it's complete like contraction from like the beginning of it, because everyone was so sensitive to being seen, but now everyone's seen. And
yeah, because they've worn that sensitivity down. And like, think about all the kids who are literally being raised in front of someone else's cell phone, their entire childhood's broadcasted on social media, and without their knowledge or consent. I mean, they're not even gonna bat
What do you
their
think about
eyes
that?
about it.
What do you
Well, I'm
think
just saying, I think that it's, a very touchy subject, but
about
I'm just saying that when you normalize it, then your kid isn't going to know that it feels weird to be on captured on film. It's all what you're used to. Life is all what you're used to. So, I mean, if
Yeah.
you want your kid to be used to in being in front of the camera, then that's the way to prime them. But
I couldn't even imagine having a child right now in the world. I would.
well,
Whew.
that's what I'm saying, because even with social media, it's like I'll get to the point where I look at it long enough and I'm like, okay, I feel funny. I have to put this away. This isn't making me feel good. You know what I mean? And I don't have a long tolerance for it, but I use it, and it's a great promotional tool in today's day and age. But undeniable, and at the same time, a teenager isn't going to feel that. They're not going to know that they feel bad because they've been looking at social media for a straight hour, right? They're
Well,
just going to.
we knew what it was like not to have that.
That's what I'm saying. So we have that thing in us that that will set off an alarm, like, oh, okay, I'm done with this for now. But they're not going to have that. So they're just going to feel worse and worse. And it's already showing. And there's, record levels of teenage depression and suicide attempts. And it's really sad. And I don't think that people even understand why, and I don't even think kids could explain why that they feel as bad as they do. But it needs to change, it needs to change. And it starts with creativity and breaking free from the machines. Kids come alive through creativity,
Yeah.
and people are just handing, tablets and letting their kids go down the YouTube hole for hours at a time these days. And I know it's hard to entertain kids all the time. Like I'm not like saying anything except that everyone should fight to make their kid have an imagination and have time free of everything, where they have to play with their own brains and they have to read and draw or whatever they want to do without.
I called my friend the other day. We did a FaceTime, and he's got a couple kids. He's a really cool guy. I've known him forever, and I hadn't seen his kids for a while. They're two little boys, and he said, "Hey guys, hey," and say hi to Brett. Brett, you remember Brett? And they were playing Battleship.
No, nice. The
Physically,
classic.
the
Yeah.
classic game. I was
I
all in
love
my
that.
mind. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's
Yeah.
like and they skateboard and stuff like that. They do, they're sort of surf and active. But when I saw
Awesome.
them and those instead of a screen in front of them, I was like, oh, that was really nice. To even little things like that, are really nice.
For sure.
So, what's your next step? Are you going to go on the Are you touring with this book, or and just gonna keep on trying to get it out there as much as possible?
Yes. Thank you for asking. I am embarking on something called the Reading Rocking Rainbow Tour. And it's kind of a 90s themed event, where I will be doing a discussion on the good, the bad, and the like whatever of the 90s. And for a lot of those dates, I'll have like in conversation guest, probably usually an author and or musician that experienced the 90s, and we can sort of just talk about it. And because my whole book takes place in the 90s, obviously. And then following that, I'll be rocking out with Movie Club, and we'll have some special guests for the set, and we'll probably have a local band play after us, and we'll sell merch and I'll do signings and stuff. So
Are you doing where do you have any shows coming up in LA or anywhere? Like, is that, or what how would,
so
if people want to catch you live?
yeah, yeah, no, we're hitting SF so far. We have nine places booked. We have SF, Portland, uh, Seattle, Bend, Sacramento. Then we're flying to New Orleans for Jazz Fest, and then we're going to the East Coast doing 2 nights, one in New York City, one in Brooklyn, and then we're ending in Boston, where I'm from. So
Wow. And what
Huge undertaking.
when does that start? Like
Starts with the book. The book kickoff is April 18th is when the book goes live and actually comes out, which is the same thing as going live today, on Amazon, and then and hopefully in bookstores everywhere. But I'm doing a release reading at Book Soup in West Hollywood with my good friend Eva Gardner, who's a bass player for Pink, Mars Volta, Cher, Moby, Tegan and Sarah, tons of people. She's Hollywood royalty. Her parents started the Cat and Fiddle, which was a huge rock and roll hangout in the. You probably went there many a time.
I went back in there. I've been through there. That was a fun little spot back in. Yeah.
Yeah, in the patio.
Yeah.
So
really cool.
So she grew up. She grew up in the scene that my book is about, basically. So we're gonna have an awesome conversation at Book Soup and do a signing there, and then.
Are you broadcasting any of these that you just described?
That's a great idea, Brett. That is a really good idea. It would be a great promotional tool, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
You just do it from your phone.
We should just have someone live broadcasting it from Book Soup. That'd be
just make sure it's mic'd okay, or if or wear a lavalier.
Good call.
If they're gonna follow you around remotely and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great thought. It is a great thought. At least record the first one, so we can use it to promote the rest of them. Really cool. I mean, hopefully we'll get footage from all the events in some form, but
yeah,
it's so much planning, and like we're working with a PR company run by a friend for a great discount. But at the same time, I don't think we could do it all on our own, but it's quite an undertaking, and but hopefully. Where do you live in Oregon?
I'm in Salem.
Is that near Bend or?
Yeah, I know Bend.
Portland.
I'm about 45 miles from Portland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you can come out to that event.
When is that Portland show? Or can people go to your website and how do people find your dates that you just said?
It's not released yet.
This is exclusive?
This is exclusive.
A Brett's with Friends exclusive.
Exclusive preview. Yeah, no, we are gonna drop the flyers and all the dates 2 months out. So
nice.
Mid-February.
Right.
So we're just locking in the final details now. But that Portland one is on Saturday the 22nd at a very funky venue called Turn. They have craft beers and events, and
Portland's got great beers. Portland. Have you been through Portland's a trip?
I've never been to Portland.
Oh, you've never been to Portland? Wow. Okay.
I know.
You're gonna love it. It's a trip. It's like a city of bridges.
Huh. I've never heard it described like that.
Well, they got bridges everywhere, and I have a high anxiety, so it's when I travel over there, I kind of have to look straight on the road because I can't look over the side because I get vertigo.
Interesting.
Yeah, as a childhood trauma. Anyways, I've talked about it before, but my half brother threw me over the side of a battleship onto the netting when I was a child.
Oh God!
And so that kind of was a traumatic. So that's that height. Whenever I get to that height,
is that in the Bay Area? Was the battleship?
I was in San Diego where that happened.
Wow!
It was a U.S. San Jose battleship. Yeah, that's probably like 10, 8, 9, 10, something like that. Anywho, it'd be a great movie scene, that's for sure. So you're just prepping? Are you do you have a time for a vacation before all this goes before this all starts ramping up, or is it that this is it? You're in it. It's ramping up right now.
It's ramping up right now. We're scrimping and saving every penny so we can make it work, and just trying to get a bunch of merch and hopefully some sort of sponsor that can help fund the merch. It's like the chicken before the egg with that sort of thing. But
you can do when you think about merch, are you thinking about shirts,
shirts, stickers, that's the majority, and posters. The artist working on the poster is a book cover designer, and he's awesome, Jacob Vala. I'm very excited to see how that turns out, but
Nice.
I've never had anything, designed by a professional designer before. So, I mean, for the flyer. So
next step, next level.
Yeah.
Well, should we wrap it up and make it a nice, neat little hour episode?
That sounds great. I do feel funny after zooming too long.
Yeah. This is the vertigo starting to happen. The vertigo. Okay, so we're gonna take off, and the movie club is how they can find you.
Just movie club, yep.
All right. Well,
and my personal website's jessamynviolet.com. So that will have all the stuff linked to it once it's live.
Do you want to tell me your Instagram at all?
It's at Jessamyn Violet.
Oh.
Across the board, Twitter, Facebook.
Do you use Twitter a lot?
No, I do not.
Did you pay the $8 for it to be verified?
No, I did not. I will say it did get a little more entertaining on Twitter after Elon Musk bought it, even though obviously I'm not a fan. It was a funny time though to suddenly see every post that he posted, even though I didn't follow him. But yeah, I repost on Twitter. I use it as little as possible, but I'm there because you have to be. It's a words platform, so writers,
I wonder, like, I hate being on Facebook.
Yeah.
I wish I.
Facebook's the new MySpace.
I really hate being on Facebook, but it's like we've all been on it for like 12 years now.
Exactly. You can't throw that away, like this podcast wouldn't have happened. I mean, there's just such weird, I can't even tell you the weird ways that Facebook has like continued. Like I've threatened to shut it down so many times, and then I have this like unbelievable like connection through it or whatever,
It's well,
it's annoying. It's annoying.
It's our we've synced up with the Matrix. So this is our autonomous friend or something like that. This is their link into Pinocchio world, a magical land that never existed before, and communication. And it's weird, man. Like you're right, it has changed. Like I wouldn't even have this podcast at all without Facebook. And or just as a people are watching their lives. It's a very voyeuristic. It's super okay. Everyone check that off. Everyone's like, okay, I'll be a voyeur and just continue to watch the lives of their friends that no longer talk to them, or see pop-ups of people they met once or twice, and now you conjoined and are linked to them in your head and in your thoughts and your brains and your dreams, and it's like, where is this gonna go?
Yeah, I don't know. It is funny how people feel comfortable spying and being spied on. I try to just use it for promotional tools overall. Like, the personal stuff is like, and the family photos, like stuff like that. It's just like, I don't feel comfortable posting that stuff anymore. It's not like I have too many people watching that don't know me. Like, why do they need to see a picture of like my parents or whatever? You know what I mean? Like
except for if it's like a group friend thing, but it's like I very rarely just post pictures of myself just to myself, just on my face. It's all my art or promoting the pod or showing art film. But
exactly.
Some people are you supposed to keep on liking everything every time a friend puts up a picture of themselves? You're just like, I'm stopping doing that. It's like, I'm over it. It's like, I've liked your shit. I'm over. It's just like, what are we doing? There's like,
I know.
Okay.
I know. It does feel very tedious to just like feel obligated to like, but at the end of the day, you don't know anyone anything, and
You know, and when you see them in public, and they're like, "Oh shit, that's that person I unfriended on Facebook that one time." Now they're like, you unfriend them.
No, see, that's us thinking too much about it. Like social media is not real life. And my partner, my husband, he very much always says that to me, and I appreciate it. Like it's not real life, like whatever happens on social media, like it is not what would happen in face to face, and
Yeah.
it's just so easy to take that stuff personally or whatever, but it's a different world. The rules are there's no rules. And overall, like if people are that sensitive that they would get mad if for a tiny whatever, I mean, you don't know. I mean, sometimes I don't
You don't know?
months, weeks or months at a time, like I take breaks and I don't feel like I have to announce that either. I don't know anyone an explanation that I'm not going to like their selfies for the next month.
Well, unfriending a person on Facebook is like one of the best parts about Facebook, I think. And there is a thing that's happening. I forget the word of it, but like, I'll let you go. I know I need to let you go, but there's where people from all this stimulation or getting what we were just talking about, they even celebrities included, but like people think that now there's a word. It's a new word, but it's like they think that they know you. Now you're personal friends with them,
right?
But they don't. And so there is a weird.
Well, I mean, it's like those people that used to watch TVs when TVs first came out and thought that the people on the TV could see them too, or remember, like they would get dressed up to watch TV.
Did I look tonight? Did I look good? No. Well, on that note, push those likes, the likes button through Brett's with Friends, and share. And subscribe and push the bell for Brett's with Friends. And this has been a really fun chit chat. Please, if you ever want to come and have a chit chat, let me know, or hopefully I'll see you in real life.
Definitely.
I'm in LA.
Sounds great. Yeah, we'll try to get you to the Oregon show.
Yeah, that'll be a good time of year. I mean, and thanks for very inspirational things that really clicked and resonated with me. You said, and so thanks for reminding me of that.
Of course, happy to.
Yeah, and so it is called Movie Club. Tell me, Violet. God, I just Violet.
You're gonna have to edit around that.
I'm keeping all those in. Keeping all those in.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm Jessamyn Violet. My band is Movie
Jessamyn
Club.
Violet.
My book is Secret Rules to Being a Rock Star. Every pre-order helps. Believe me. Thank you for supporting the reading.
And I'm going to show that that little animatic you made of it right now. Didn't you make a little animatic of the book promotional thing, the video?
I don't know what you mean, but my husband is going to do an animated book cover, but we haven't.
No, I wasn't talking about that. I'll send you a link.
You mean just the photo, just the cover image? Yeah.
Well, the cover image, but I thought there was a video that I saw on YouTube about it.
There's a book trailer.
Book trailer, that's it. So I'll put that on right now. Jessamyn,
All right,
thank
Brett.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really
No,
appreciate
it's been great. I love talking about all of it.
Awesome.
Good to reconnect.
Yeah, I'll see you in the future.
Sounds great.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Friends with friends, friends with friends, friends with friends, it's never going to end. Friends with friends.
You want a shot?